On the 7th and last day of retreat, we will read from various authors. Of the past and present teachers as well as poets. The first selections by Wangpo, Krishnamurti, Nisargadatta, and Vimalataka have been partly abbreviated, words taken out of sentences, because this is not a presentation of these teachers, but to hear words that fit into the context of what we have been looking at together for the past 7 days. Many of you have heard most of these selections before. I've never heard a complaint about that yet. So, all it takes is the mind to be open and receptive, and everything takes care of itself. Even if one doesn't understand something, not to try to grasp it and retain it in the mind while the reading goes on. Just to let the words drop like seeds into softened earth. First is from the Zen teachings of Wangpo. Wangpo, a Chinese Zen teacher who lived about 1,000 years ago. And written down by his disciple, scholar, governor of the province in which he was teaching. The word Buddha or Buddhas does not just refer to historical personages, but to an awakened one, the awakened mind. The Master said to me, all the Buddhas and all sentient beings are nothing but the one mind, beside which nothing exists. This mind, which is without beginning, is unborn and indestructible. It does not belong to the categories of things which exist or do not exist, nor can it be thought of in terms of new or old. It is neither long nor short, big nor small, for it transcends all limits, all measures, names, traces, and comparisons. It is that which you see before you. Begin to reason about it, and you at once fall into error. It is like the boundless void which cannot be fathomed or measured. The one mind alone is the Buddha, and there is no distinction between the Buddha and sentient beings, but that sentient beings are attached to forms, and so seek externally for Buddhahood. By their very seeking, they lose it. For that is using the Buddha to seek for the Buddha, using mind to grasp mind. Even though they do their utmost for a full eon, they will not be able to attain to it. People do not know that if they put a stop to conceptual thought and forget their anxiety, the Buddha will appear before them. For this mind is Buddha, and Buddha is all living beings. It is not the less for being manifested in ordinary beings, nor is it greater for being manifested in the Buddhas. Our original Buddha nature is in highest truth devoid of any object of any atom of objectivity. Devoid of any objectivity. It is void, omnipresent, silent, pure. It is glorious and mysterious, peaceful joy, and that is all. Enter deeply into it by awakening to it yourself. That which is before you is it in all its fullness, utterly complete. There's naught beside. Even if you go through all the stages of a bodhisattva's progress toward Buddhahood, one by one, when at last, in a single flash, you attain realization, you will only be realizing that which has been with you all the time. And by all the foregoing stages, you will have added to it nothing at all. You will come to look upon those eons of work and achievement as no better than unreal actions performed in a dream. When we talk of the knowledge I may gain, the learning I may achieve, my intuitive understanding, my deliverance from rebirth, and my moral way of living, our successes makes these concepts seem pleasant to us, but our failures make them appear deplorable. What is the use of all that? I advise you to remain uniformly quiescent and above all activity. Activity meaning judgment, comparison, etc. Do not deceive yourselves with conceptual thinking, and do not look anywhere for the truth. For all that is needed is to refrain from allowing concepts to arise. It is obvious that mental concepts and external perceptions are equally misleading, and that the way of the Buddhas is as dangerous as the way of demons. Full understanding can come to you only through an inexpressible mystery. The approach to it is called the gateway of the stillness beyond all activity. If you wish to understand, know that a sudden comprehension comes when the mind is purged of all the clutter of conceptual and discriminatory thought activity. Those who seek the truth by means of intellect and learning only get further and further away from it. Not till your thoughts cease all their branching here and there. Not till you abandon all thoughts of seeking for something will you be on the right road. Though others may talk of the way of the Buddhas as something to be reached by various pious practices and by scripture study, you must have nothing to do with such ideas. A perception sudden as blinking that subject and object are one will lead to a deeply mysterious, wordless understanding. And by this understanding you awake to the truth. Your true nature is something never lost to you even in moments of delusion, nor is it gained at the moment of enlightenment. It depends on nothing and it is attached to nothing. It is all-pervading, spotless beauty. It is the self-existent and uncreated absolute. Absolute meaning not dependent on anything, not caused by anything. It is a jewel beyond all price. Krishnamurti. From a collection of excerpts from his talks and writings brought out by the KFA in India. This is a short excerpt from the Star Bulletin 1932. The Star Bulletin had been created for him by the Theosophical Society as a vehicle for his teachings. The individual problem is the world problem. If the individual has found happiness, has created order within himself, then he will create order in the world around him. And in helping others to solve their own individual problems, he will help to solve the world problems. You think that in seeking the liberation of the self there is the suggestion of egotism. You think that to be eternally happy is a selfish realization. You think that to be free from sorrow and strife is a desertion of the world. This is a misconception. Liberation is the very antithesis of the sense of the ego, of I-ness. It is the ultimate realization for all people. And 8 years later in Ojai, California, I personally feel that the world is myself. That what I do creates either peace or sorrow in the world that is myself. And as long as I do not understand myself, I cannot bring peace to the world. So my immediate concern is myself, not selfishly, not merely to alter myself in order to gain greater happiness, greater sensations, greater successes. For as long as I do not understand myself, I must live in pain and sorrow and cannot discover an enduring peace and happiness. What is the self-knowledge, somebody asks, of which you speak, and how can I acquire it? This is Bombay, 1955. Krishnamurti. You have extraordinary ideas about self-knowledge, that to have self-knowledge you must practice, you must meditate, you must do all kinds of things. It is very simple, sir. The first step is the last step in self-knowledge. The beginning is the end. The first step is what matters. Because self-knowledge is not something you can learn from another. No one can teach you self-knowledge. You have to find out for yourself. It must be your own discovery. And that discovery is not something tremendous, fantastic. It is very simple. After all, to know yourself is to watch your behavior, your words, what you do in your everyday relationships. That is all. Begin with that, and you will see how extraordinarily difficult it is to be aware. Just to watch the manner of your behavior. The words you use to your servant, to your boss, the attitude you have with regard to people, to ideas, to things. Just watch your thoughts, your motives in the mirror of relationship. And you will see that the moment you watch, you want to correct it. You say, this is good and that is bad. I must do this and not do that. When you see yourself in the mirror of relationship, your approach is one of condemnation or justification. Therefore, you distort what you see. Whereas, if you simply observe in that mirror your attitude with regard to people, to ideas, and to things, if you just see the fact without judgment, without condemnation or acceptance, then you will find that that very perception has its own action. That is the beginning of self-knowledge. And from another compilation, The Meditative Mind, this one came out in Ojai. The selection is from The Flame of Attention. It is immensely important to know and to understand the depth and beauty of meditation. Man has always been asking from timeless time whether there is something beyond all thought, beyond all romantic inventions, beyond all time. He's always been asking, is there something beyond all the suffering, beyond all the chaos, beyond wars, beyond the battle between human beings? Is there something that is immovable, sacred, utterly pure, untouched by thought, by any experience? This has been the inquiry of serious people from the ancient of days. To find that out, to come upon it, meditation is necessary. Not the repetitive meditation that is utterly meaningless. There is a creative energy which is truly religious when the mind is free from all conflict, free from all the travail of thought. To come upon that which has no beginning, no end. That is the real depth of meditation and the beauty of it. And here is Krishnamurti talking to students at Brockwood in England from the book Beginnings of Learning. When you sit very quietly or lie down very quietly, the body is completely relaxed, isn't it? Have you ever tried to sit very, very quietly? Not to force it, because the moment you force it, it is finished. To sit very quietly, either with your eyes open or closed. If you have your eyes open, there's a little bit more distraction. You begin to see things. So after looking at things, the curve of the tree, the leaves, the bushes, after looking at it all with care, then close your eyes. Then you will not say to yourself, what's happening? Let me look. First, look at everything. The furniture, the color of the chair, the color of the sweater. Look at the shape of the tree. After having looked, the desire to look is less. I've seen that blue sky and I've finished with it, and I won't look again. But you must first look, then you can sit quietly. When you sit quietly or lie down very quietly, the blood flows easily into your head, doesn't it? There's no strain. That is why they say you must sit cross-legged, with head very straight, because the blood flows easier that way. If you sit crouched, it is more difficult for the blood to go into the head. So you sit or lie down very, very quietly. Don't force it, don't fidget. If you fidget, then watch it. Don't say, I must not fidget. Then, when you sit very quietly, you watch your mind. First, you watch the mind. Don't correct it. Don't say this thought is good and that thought is not good. Just watch it. Then you will see that there is a watcher and the watched. There's a division. The moment there is a division, there is conflict. Now, can you watch without the watcher? Is there a watching without the watcher? It is the watcher that says, this is good and that is bad. This I like and I don't like that. Or, I wish she hadn't said this. Or, I wish I had more food. To watch without the watcher, try it sometime. That's part of meditation. Just begin with that. It's good enough. And you will see, if you have done it, what an extraordinary thing takes place. Your body becomes very, very intelligent. Now the body is not intelligent because we have spoiled it. Do you understand what I mean? We have destroyed the natural intelligence of the body itself. Then you will find that the body says, go to bed at the right time. It wants it. It has its own intelligence and activity. And also, if it wants to be lazy, let it be lazy. Nisargadatta, an Indian sage, lived about the same time as Krishnamurti. Never left his country, maybe not even his town. Like Wang Po uses the word one mind to describe what we sometimes describe as wholeness, non-division, emptiness, fullness. And Nisargadatta in the Hindu tradition calls it the self with a capital S. Questioner. Maharaj, you are sitting in front of me and I'm here at your feet. What is the basic difference between us? Nisargadatta? There is no basic difference. Questioner. Still, there must be some real difference. I come to you, you do not come to me. Nisargadatta. Because you imagine differences, you go here and there in search of superior people. Questioner. You too are a superior person. You claim to know the real while I do not. Nisargadatta. Did I ever tell you that you do not know and therefore you are inferior? Let those who invented such distinctions prove them. I do not claim to know what you do not. In fact, I know much less than you do. Questioner. Your words are wise, your behavior noble, and your grace all-powerful. Nisargadatta. I know nothing about it all and see no difference between you and me. My life is a succession of events just like yours. Only I am detached and see the passing show as a passing show, while you stick to things and move along with them. Questioner. What made you so dispassionate? Nisargadatta. Nothing in particular. It so happened that I trusted my guru. He told me that I'm nothing but myself, and I believed him. Trusting him, I behaved accordingly and ceased caring for what was not me nor mine. Questioner. Why were you lucky to trust your teacher fully, while our trust is nominal and verbal? Nisargadatta. Who can say? It happened so. Things happen without cause and reason, and after all, what does it matter who is who? Your high opinion of me is your opinion only. Any moment you may change it. Why attach importance to opinions, even your own? Questioner. Still you are different. Your mind seems to be always quiet and happy, and miracles happen around you. Nisargadatta. I know nothing about miracles, and I wonder whether nature admits exceptions to her laws, unless we agree that everything is a miracle. As to my mind, there is no such thing. There is consciousness in which everything happens. It is quite obvious and within the experience of everybody. You just do not look carefully enough. Look well and see what I see. Questioner. What do you see? Nisargadatta. I see what you too could see here and now, but for the wrong focus of your attention. You give no attention to yourself. Your mind is all with things and people and ideas, never with yourself. Bring yourself into focus. Become aware of your own existence. See how you function. Watch the motives and the results of your actions. Study the prison you have built around yourself by inadvertence. By knowing what you are not, you come to know yourself. One thing is certain, the real is not imaginary. It is not a product of the mind. Once you are convinced that you cannot say truthfully about yourself anything except I am, and that nothing that can be pointed at can be yourself, you are no longer intent on verbalizing what you are. All you need is to get rid of the tendency to define yourself. All definitions apply to your body only and to its expressions. Once this obsession with a body goes, you will revert to your natural state, spontaneously and effortlessly. The only difference between us is that I'm aware of my natural state while you are bemused. We differ only in appearances. We discover it by being earnest, by searching, inquiring, questioning daily and hourly, by giving one's life to this discovery. Being and Becoming by Vimala Thakur, Indian woman, teacher, spiritual teacher. Used to travel all over the world to give talks and retreats. Now she stays in India and people go to see her. These talks were recorded in Dalhousie during the summer of 1989. We are talking about an alternative way of living, which is a meditative way of living. Acquire knowledge, let it flow through you, let it be utilized in its relevant field, without creating a knower. If we look at the roots of all human misery, we will find that misery is built upon our stupidity or stupefaction. We do not know how to relate to the social structures and use them without identification, without creating a sense of authority out of them. Structures are not sacred. It is only life that is sacred. Patterns have no sacredness, whether you create them in the name of religion, spirituality, or politics. It is the pattern-free, structure-free, virgin dynamism of life that is sacred, that is divine. Wherever you have touched it with thought, you have manipulated it. You have structured it. It has a utility, but not sanctity, not authority. Knowledge itself has no power to bind you. It is the creation of the knower that is the obstacle. You have a beautiful, sensitive body, and the sensitivity gets in touch with its respective objects outside, and they bring sensations. Sensations are converted to electric impulses, and the brain interprets them. It's a marvelous process of what we call experiencing. Contact with the outside world through the senses, which are very delicate, very tender. It is quite hard and arduous work to keep your sensual system pure, healthy, supple, and elastic. Let the experiences flow through the sensual system. Nothing wrong in a sensual, sexual experience, but you create an experiencer and you get stuck in the experience and its likes and its dislikes. The word meditation has been identified with psychophysical exercises, with concentrations, methods, techniques, kundalini, shakti paths. The word has been abused and misused in a callous way. No authority and no effort. Freedom from authority and freedom from the struggle of efforts. Once you know that these man-made enclosures are only to be lived in, then the sense of comparing yourself with others, he has a palace and I have a hut, he has millions and I have only thousands, rupees that is. The sense of comparison and the ambition for competition disappears. Your economic life becomes simple. No vanity, no pride about your scholarship, erudition, and so forth. And your social life becomes simple. You do not move around with a begging bowl for sympathy, for acceptance, for prestige, for acknowledgement, and so forth. Reconciled to the limitations, to the enclosures, you live and move in it. Can you see with me that effortlessness is the content of silence? Silence is not only sitting still, it is a way of living. Meditation has no repetition at all. It is moment to moment. In the moment of relating, you are living. In the moment of aloneness, you are dying. It is living and dying, like inhaling and exhaling. To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody or being something. Is not that the content of death and dying? To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody. Sinner or saint, holy, knowledgeable, respected, rich, poor. To be alone is to die to being something according to the definition of society, according to the value structure of religions. Physically isolating yourself may not lead you to the aloneness. It may not. That is what we're afraid of, dying to the sense of being somebody, dying to all the images we have built up about ourselves, is being alone. The way we are tackling the theme may be unusual, unheard of to many. It is a non-conventional way, a non-traditional approach. But I'm really grateful that life brings you and me together. Some poetry. From The Enlightened Heart, an anthology of sacred poetry edited by Stephen Mitchell. Lei Men Pang, a Chinese sage, he was quite well-to-do. He traveled. No, at that time he didn't travel. He had a family. And one day decided to throw all of his money into the river so it wouldn't make somebody else unhappy either. And then he just went around with his family selling brushes and baskets. And here he says, my daily affairs are quite ordinary, but I am in total harmony with them. I don't hold on to anything and don't reject anything. Nowhere an obstacle or conflict. Who cares about wealth and honor? Even the poorest thing shines. My miraculous power and spiritual activity, drawing water and carrying wood. Rumi lived 13th century. Everybody these days knows Rumi. I have lived on the lip of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking on a door. It opens. I've been knocking from the inside. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. Outside the freezing desert night, this other night inside grows warm, kindling. Let the landscape be covered with thorny crust. We have a soft garden in here. The continents blasted, cities and little towns, everything become a scorched blackened ball. The news we hear is full of grief for that future. But the real news inside here is there's no news at all. And some poetry by Ryokan, translated by John Stevens. One robe, one bowl. He lived, born in 1758. He was a recluse, a hermit, lived in the mountains, had a little hut, and loved to have visitors who didn't come in the wintertime. Loved to go down to the village to play with the children. an evening dream. Everything must have been an illusion. I cannot explain clearly even one part of what I saw. Yet in the dream, it seemed as if the truth were in front of my eyes. This morning, awake, is it not the same dream? Drinking sweet sake with the farmers until our eyebrows are white with snow. Late at night, listening to the winter rain, recalling my youth. Was it only a dream? Was I really young once? The hour grows late, but the sound of hail striking the bamboo keeps me from sleep. Another blizzard. The mountains are covered with deep snow. From now on, news from town must wait till spring. Wind and snow, then snow and rain. Tonight, awakened by the cry of a wild goose in the dark, endless winter sky. Lying in my freezing hut, unable to sleep. Only the quiet roar of water pouring over the cliff. I lie down near the hearth and stretch out my feet to the fire, but still the cold pierces my belly. No begging in the town again today. The snow falls and falls. Late at night, the snow is piling higher and higher, muffling the sound of the waterfall. The freezing morning rain has let up. What should I do? Fetch water? Chop firewood? Gather winter greens? In the shadow of the mountains, the firewood burns, brightening my cold little grass hut. Winter will soon be over. Please, please come visit my grass hut. My heart beats faster and faster, and I cannot sleep. Tomorrow will be the first day of spring. A thief has stolen my cushion and mat. Why did he break into my heritage? The door is never locked. The night is ending, and I sit alone by the window. A sparse rain falls gently against the bamboo grove. Lying on my grass pillow, dreaming about this dream world again, lonely, fitful sleep. As I watch the children happily playing, without realizing it, my eyes fill with tears. Thinking about the people in this floating world far into the night, my sleeve is wet with tears. The thief has left it behind. The moon at the window. A few poems by Mary Oliver, contemporary American poet. Somebody just sent me this, I don't know what selection it is from. It's called Morning Light. Every morning the good news pours through the field, touching every blossom, every stem. And each of them, on the instant, offers to be part of it, offers to lift and hold willingly the vast burden of light all day. In my life, I've never seen it to fail. Flower after flower, leaf after pearly leaf, to the acre, to the massy many is silvered, is flooded. And such voices spangle among it, larks and sparrows. All those small souls are everywhere, tossing the quick wheels of pleasure from their red throats as they hang on, as though on little masts of golden ships to the top of the weeds. And that's when I come. That's when I come crying out to the world, oh, give me a corner of it to lift also, to sing about, to touch with my wild hands. And they do. Singapore. In Singapore, in the airport, a darkness was ripped from my eyes. In the women's restroom, one compartment stood open. A woman knelt there washing something in the white bowl. Disgust argued in my stomach, and I felt in my pocket for my ticket. A poem should always have birds in it. Kingfishers, say, with their bold eyes and gaudy wings. Rivers are pleasant, and of course, trees. A waterfall? Or if that's not possible, a fountain rising and falling. A person wants to stand in a happy place in a poem. When the woman turned, I could not answer her face. Her beauty and her embarrassment struggled together, and neither could win. She smiled, and I smiled. What kind of nonsense is this? Everybody needs a job. Yes, a person wants to stand in a happy place in a poem. But first we must watch her as she stares down at her labor, which is dull enough. She's washing the tops of the airport ashtrays, as big as hubcaps, with a blue rag. Her small hands turn the metal, scrubbing and rinsing. She does not work slowly nor quickly, but like a river. Her dark hair is like the wing of a bird. I don't doubt for a moment that she loves her life. And I want her to rise up from the crust and the slop and fly down to the river. This probably won't happen. But maybe it will. If the world were only pain and logic, who would want it? Of course it isn't. Neither do I mean anything miraculous, but only the light that can shine out of a life. I mean, the way she unfolded and refolded that blue cloth, the way her smile was only for my sake. I mean, the way this poem is filled with trees and birds. This was from the House of Light. And this one is from New and Selected Poems. That'll be our last selection. The Sun. Have you ever seen anything in your life more wonderful than the way that the sun, every evening relaxed and easy, floats toward the horizon and into the clouds or the hills or the rumpled sea and is gone? And how it slides again out of the blackness every morning on the other side of the world like a red flower, streaming upward on its heavenly oils. Say, on a morning in early summer, at its perfect imperial distance. And have you ever felt for anything such wild love? Do you think there's anywhere in any language a word billowing enough for the pleasure that fills you as the sun reaches out, as it warms you, as you stand there empty-handed? Or have you too turned from this world? Or have you too gone crazy for power, for things? We will end here for today.